Hello, it's me, the Avatar Fanatic, and today we will be reviewing Episode 3 of Netflix's Avatar The Last Airbender live-action adaptation, Omashu. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on the episode, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload more content. The episode starts with a scene of introducing Azula to the series, conning some firebenders into execution from her father. Although, I don't know exactly how people in that, firebending cult who are against Ozai didn't recognize Azula, as she's part of the royal family and probably one of the most known firebenders apart from Ozai or Iroh or Zuko, as he's technically the heir to the throne. Or even as of now, Azula is technically the heir to the throne. And that's been established in this series. Maybe it's because, Azula's been on so many expeditions, so many missions for her father. She's not in the Fire Nation a lot, but there's really no plot development of her showing her anywhere else but the Fire Nation. I mean, this was the first mention of her. So there's no real way to know, if you've never watched the series, how nobody knows who she is. They show Azula doing some archery, which she never does in the original, instead of firebending. Maybe they want to save that blue flame for another time, but archery was an odd choice. They really could have done anything. I mean, they could have done kind of what they did in the vacation, the beach episode, where in the original, where she was just being very brash and terrifying to people. They could have easily done that, but instead they did archery, which was very, very interesting. Katara's waterbending arc is further developed on in this episode, with her getting advice on bending from various individuals. Although she still isn't really convincing with the skill, the waterbending across the episode gets a lot better, and she does things with more force. Now, I still think the waterbending doesn't look forceful enough, devastating enough, as of now, but a valid take would also be to say Katara doesn't really have the capacity for big moves yet. The water dissolved more so than impacts like it does in the original. Katara also hit herself with her own waterbending, yet her hair and her face weren't wet. There's two valid takes to this. One, she kind of tail whips herself but still controls all the water, therefore she isn't wet, giving more of an impact off. Two, it should have drenched her clothes at least. Sokka and Katara on the trip to Omashu have a generic conversation probably generated by ChatGPT. Netflix should have hired me to write the damn show, because I would have done it, by the way, if they paid me. And a third grader probably also would have done a better job, so they probably didn't even need me. Zuko devises a plan to get Aang in Omashu, as there's intel Aang is there, given to Zuko by Zhao in the episode. Azula notifies Zhao that she got his message about the Avatar being alive, and she is at risk of losing the airship to the Fire Nation throne. One interesting thing here in the live action that is outlined much more definitively than in the original, again, too much exposition in my opinion in this episode, is that Zuko is doing this to get the heirdom to the throne, and that Azula is trying to maintain the heirdom. Maybe I'm the only one here that got this conception, but I never got that impression in the original. I thought Zuko was trying to please his father and regain his honor, as that's what he's been told his whole life. I thought Azula was helping her father because she truly believed in one nation rule under the Fire Nation, the wicked ideology of her father. She was radicalized by it. She wanted to be in a place to enforce it, and she actually seemed to enjoy the misery of others. If Azula was Fire Lord, in some ways it could enable her, but in a lot of ways, that administrative duty never served her personality in really any way. She was always out doing missions for her father. And it really didn't suit Zuko's either. To me, they weren't looking for that type of power. Azula was just trying to inflict maximum pain, and Azula felt the love of anyone wasn't there for her. So this is how she can help her father in any way. There are many psychological subdivisions in the original not mentioned in this live action. It was just basic, I want to be heir. No, I want to be heir. And it removes a lot of emotional attachment that, again, as I said, the psychological layers that the original had that this really doesn't. It feels like a very rushed arc to me. The gang get to Omashu, get in with the help of Jet, a different introduction to him than the original off memory. Cabbage Man makes his memorable appearance, and they immediately find the Mechanist. There's an interesting plot that's clever of Sokka expanding on his engineer plot that wasn't touched in the original as much, which I actually really like. There's a much more of a natural progression shown in some of the arcs, like the one I mentioned, Sokka's combat arc, Katara's waterbending arc in this live action. By mid-season 1 in the original, Katara's a top 5 waterbender in the world at 16 after 2 months prior not knowing how to bend a puddle, as the timeline is 9 months or so in the original, or a year, until the comet. So in that time, she was able to destroy most she faced against very, very seasoned, trained military warriors of the Fire Nation. This live action has a much better timeline, and it really shows her development as she goes along. It's the same as Sokka almost beating Piandao out of nowhere in the original, or building a blimp and machines from knowing nothing 3 episodes prior. This is a good change. This is one of my favorite things that they did in this live action so far, is that they're actually expanding on some of the important arcs. In doing that, though, they kind of neglect a lot of the subplots and a lot of the small arcs that also made the series so great. So, as I said in the other videos in parts 1 and 2, if each episode had an extra 5 or 10 minutes, even though it still wouldn't be perfect, it would be a ton better. So much better. Or if you added 4 more episodes, I heard someone say that you have 12 episodes instead of 8, made them not filler, but just made them go into some sub-arcs and space out the timeline a little better. That would have made it so much better. Now, Omashu gets bombed. Aang and Tio find out that the blast jelly is used, not a firebender's component. Katara and Jet find the Mechanist is giving these firebenders tools. Jet has a nice battle scene portraying himself as this non-bender savage. Katara is shown to finally be a passable waterbender. The freedom fighters get introduced. Sokka and Katara get into another cringe conversation. It got saved a bit by Sokka's actor being funny and good. He's a good actor. He's just given terrible lines. But these writers are absolutely dreadful. Dreadful. Zuko and Iroh find the gang. Katara and Sokka try and save the Earth King and the Mechanist from certain death at Jet's orders due to the supposed corruption. One thing about that, why, if you're an old senile king, as Jet described, would you meet outside with the Mechanist so anyone like Longshot could shoot you from anywhere? Might as well do an Ozai and invite them into your little lair, especially if you're senile and corrupt and want to just hold on to power, don't want to see any of the people you're actually serving. The whole arc really made no sense. Why would Bumi come out for no reason? Aang and Zuko get into this cool battle. It's choreographed generally well. Cabbage Man gets his cabbage patch incinerated, which was funny. Zuko accidentally firebends, Iroh saves him, Zuko escapes, and Aang is detained. Overall, I feel again, everything in the episode really isn't that bad. Some of the arcs developed are good. There's no real extra meat, no small arcs, it's all big arcs, as I said. As I suggested, make small subplots in the middle to make the series way more dynamic. Don't make everyone predictable with their actions, and have their intentions actually be mysterious at times, like it was in the original. Show, don't tell. It's pretty basic. Don't make the dialogue dead, and don't make the writing like this episode again, ever. From typically everything shown, there were some things I really liked. Some positives, great CGI, good animation, good fights, good bending. I like Jet as a character, but don't do that conversation that Katara and Sokka had. The Jet is good, no, Jet is bad. And one scene later, Katara, she's like, wait! Sokka, you were right. You realize he is the bad guy. Like, that is absolutely the most cringe thing you might ever hear in a show. Don't make a cave where it's like a small hallway ever again. If the Earth Nation had found a valuable resource like blast jelly or whatever, they would logically excavate it, as it's 1, a security risk, and 2, it would sell for some good money. Overall, the episode would typically be like a 5, but the writing of the dialogue, plot development, the lack of subplots makes it probably a 3.5 or a 4 out of 10. Again, by every means, it's very tolerable most of the time. It's good production, just way too much cringe. Again, people who never watched the original will probably like it. Maybe need more guidance, I understand that, but the original show did its job exceptionally well without having to do this, without having to basically list out every character's intention and give the most generic conversations to give the viewer any clue of what's going on. People are clever enough to figure it out. Don't work off source material like it's a list and put it on a bullet point like, oh, Iroh across the original spits wisdom. He likes jasmine tea, and make it his whole character. Iroh had a lot of uniqueness about him in the original. Don't just make him generic. They do this with most of the characters, and they need to add layers to them. There are many minute ways to improve the show by so much. They're almost there. They're like 90% of the way there. They just really messed up a lot of the way that they're portraying the characters in their arcs. It's mainly just poor writing. Everything is filmed perfectly. The production values fantastic. It's just you gotta switch up how they're doing the plots and the writings. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload more content. It's been me, the Avatar Fanatic out.